still remember the sound of her voice when she said it. Calm, almost rehearsed. Ethan, I'm engaged to someone else. For a moment, I thought she was joking. The way she stood in the doorway, holding her phone like she was about to record my reaction, made it feel like some twisted social experiment. But then she smiled, small, polite, nervous. And I realized she wasn't joking. It was the kind of silence that doesn't just fill a room. It crawls into your chest, sits there, and waits for you to say something stupid. So I didn't. I just nodded once and said, "Perfect. You can move in with him." She blinked, like she didn't expect that answer. I could almost see her rehearsed script falling apart. She was ready for me to argue, beg, maybe even cry. She wasn't ready for indifference. For a few seconds, she stood there frozen. Then, almost whispering, she said, "Ethan, don't be like that. Don't be like that." That's what she said. After confessing she'd gotten engaged to someone else while still living in my house. I walked past her, picked up my keys and said, "You'll have the weekend to pack." That was it. No shouting, no scene, just quiet, final words. But the quiet didn't last. By Sunday night, she still hadn't left. There were boxes half-packed, her clothes still in the closet, and her ring. Not the engagement one, but the one I gave her 2 years ago, sitting on the counter like a bad joke. I asked her again, calm as ever, "Why are you still here?" She sighed, sat on the couch and said, "I can't go to him yet." I laughed. Couldn't help it. "You can't? You're engaged to the guy, right?" She looked away. "It's complicated." That's when I realized she wasn't sorry. She wasn't confused. She was just stuck between two comfortable places. One man she wanted for attention. One man she wanted for stability. And I'd been the stability for far too long. I didn't say another word. I just started packing her things myself. Quiet, efficient. Every sweater, every framed photo, every pair of shoes she'd left under the bed. When she realized what I was doing, she snapped, "Ethan, stop. You can't just throw me out." I kept folding clothes. "You made your choice. I'm just giving you the freedom to live with it." Her voice cracked. "You don't understand. It's not that simple." I looked up at her. "It's exactly that simple." For the first time in years, I saw panic in her eyes. Not the fake tears she used to win arguments, but real fear. The kind that comes when someone realizes they're not in control anymore. She sat down, silent. I kept packing. By the time I finished, it was past midnight. The room looked cleaner than it had in months, like it had finally exhaled. She said quietly, "You're really done with me, aren't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The next morning, she was still there, sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her phone. Coffee untouched, eyes red, but no tears. I poured my own cup and said, "You need me to help you move your stuff to his place?" She flinched. "He doesn't know yet." I stopped mid-sip. "Doesn't know what? That you're still living with me, or that you said yes to him?" Her silence was the answer. That's when I realized the whole truth. There was no engagement. Not really. She'd said it to test me, to hurt me, to see if I still cared enough to fight for her. She wanted drama, emotion, chaos, something she could control. But instead, she got peace. And peace to her felt like rejection. I didn't yell. I didn't ask her why. I just said, "You can stay till tomorrow. Then we're done for good." That night, she came into my room. Not crying, not angry, just quiet. She sat at the edge of the bed and whispered, "You didn't even ask who it was." I stared at the ceiling. "Does it matter?" She waited. Maybe she thought I'd turn around, take her hand, and ask her to stay. But I didn't. She said softly, "It was someone from work." I said, "Then I hope your office romance gives you better insurance." She laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she didn't know what else to do. The laughter turned into silence again. The kind of silence that means it's over. But it wasn't the end. Not yet. Because the next morning, she did something I didn't expect at all. When I came downstairs the next morning, she was cooking breakfast. French toast. The kind she used to make when things were still good between us. The smell hit me first, then the déjà vu. For a second, it almost felt like the old days, the Sunday mornings, music playing, her humming under her breath. But when I looked closer, I saw her hands trembling. She set a plate in front of me like nothing had happened. "Eat something," she said softly. "You haven't eaten since yesterday." I didn't sit. Instead, I leaned against the counter and asked, "Why are you doing this?" Her voice cracked. "Because I made a mistake." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "Which part? Getting engaged or lying about it?" She winced. "Both." I didn't say anything. I just stared at her, really looked at her. For the first time, I could see the exhaustion on her face, the guilt behind the makeup. She whispered, "I thought if I said I was engaged, it would make you fight for me. I thought maybe you'd care again." I shook my head slowly. "So you lied to prove you're worth something? To yourself or to me?" She didn't answer. She just stared down at her hands. I walked over, picked up my keys and said, "You shouldn't try to test love. It either exists or it doesn't." As I turned to leave, she said something that stopped me cold. "I never wanted to leave, Ethan. I just wanted to feel wanted again." That's the thing about manipulation. It always hides behind sadness. I turned back. "You were wanted. You were loved. You just didn't notice when it stopped being convenient for you." Her eyes filled, but I'd stopped feeling sorry. It wasn't anger anymore, just emptiness. I left the house and drove until I found a quiet overlook near the lake. I sat there for hours, replaying everything. The laughter, the distance, the moment she said those words. "I'm engaged to someone else." It wasn't just betrayal. It was performance. She wanted to control the ending, to make me chase her one last time. But instead, she handed me my freedom. When I returned that evening, most of her things were gone. The living room looked hollow. Only a few boxes remained, one with her old sweatshirt, one with a photo of us at a wedding we both pretended to enjoy. There was a note on the table. It said, "I didn't mean to lose you. I was just scared you'd already left me inside your heart." She was right. I folded the note once, put it in the drawer, and never opened it again. For the first few weeks, the silence felt brutal. Every sound in the house echoed too loudly. The microwave, the creak of the floorboards, the refrigerator humming in the dark. But then the quiet started to feel peaceful, healing even. One night, months later, I got a message from an unknown number. It was her. Just 2 words, "I'm sorry." I stared at it for a long time. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I locked the phone and put it face down. Sometimes closure isn't a conversation. It's silence that finally stops needing answers. People think love ends in shouting matches and tears. But most of the time it ends quietly, like the sound of a door closing softly behind you. Weeks turned into months. I sold the house, moved into a smaller apartment downtown, started over. No drama, no social media posts, just peace. And every now and then, I still think about that morning, her standing in the doorway saying she was engaged. I remember the look in her eyes when she realized I wouldn't beg. That's when it clicked. She never wanted marriage. She wanted control dressed up as love. And I wanted peace dressed up as loyalty. Now, I wake up in a quiet room, sunlight slipping through half-open blinds, and I make my own French toast. Same recipe, different meaning. Because the truth is, peace isn't what you find when someone chooses you. It's what you build after they don't.